right, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. A few more minutes. We're expecting a full stadium today, so please make room for our guests. Okay, so I don't get the head signal from our hostess, so I'll take the liberty to get started. Actually, it's about I got the thumbs up. Excellent. So, welcome everyone to this next panel, a panel about creative industry and the future of work. My name is Gauthier Vasseur. I'll be the moderator today. A quick word about myself. I am part in academia and in the corporate world. I teach at Stanford. I'm the executive director of a research group at Berkeley. My domain of focus is data analytics and obviously innovation. And I also run my own company. I do corporate consulting and corporate training in a field where a lot of companies have to learn, which is data and analytics. But today it's not about me, it's about our three guests, and welcome to all three. Before we get right into the topic, I'd love you to introduce yourself and maybe honors to our lady here.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So my name is Daria Shapovalova, and as American Forbes and Financial Times describe my role, I managed to put Ukraine on the world's fashion map, which I agree with, because I did a lot of projects that managed to promote Ukrainian talents worldwide, I would say. And now I'm continuing to push the boundaries of creativity in my country, because my mission is to put Ukraine not only on the fashion map, but all of the possible maps that we have.
So that's
a bit about myself.
Yeah,
that was good.
My name is Igor Liski. It's a great honor to be here. I'm an entrepreneur, first of all, and we invest in mostly in traditional sector industries like mining, paper mill, agriculture, food processing. By the way, the best honey in the world here. Just you can try this beehive. So we also start this project. It's also a lot about creativity. But just why we, thanks to Alexa, switched to this panel, because the main idea it's just to show Ukraine from the different angle, not because of the war, not because of like traditional industries like mining. Everybody knows Ukraine as like iron ore producer or breadbasket of Europe, but very often we forget that Ukraine is also the smartest nation, one of the smartest nations in the world,
and that will be duly noted today.
Yeah, that's why actually we understand that opportunity now investing heavily in that industry. So we are in IT sector, we are we build in animation studio, we investing in film making, and just I find out that the fashion we're really cool now. So it's not only because we're Ukrainian and we're proud of ourselves. It's also like a pool of opportunities, great opportunities, and I believe that will be the future of Ukrainian, the Ukrainian future, because the younger generation is just about that.
So we'll talk about that indeed. And our last guest, Yuri, is joining us too. Please, Yuri.
So basically, I'm an entrepreneur, but 5 years ago, I've realized that to continue grow up in my business, we should change some common rules in the house, in my city. And so we start different processes. We organize NGO platform, Teplemista United, more than 50 companies which support us institutionally. And what is important, we start creating new models in cross of business and civil society, self-sustainable models, profitable models, but which helps to solve common problems of the whole society in general.
Well, thank you. So now you see how the panel is made of, and I love this diversity. To make it simple, you know, American people, we love making it simple. We have the fashionista, the investor, and the community builder. So to still, making it simple, when I look at the title of this panel, there are two words that strike me. They're no longer behind. There's of and the. Oh, no, not these ones. There's creative and future of work. And talking to our guest here, from what angle do you connect with creativity? Because obviously you're different profiles. So what ties you to creativity? Let's start with you, Igor.
Yeah, just as I already mentioned, is first of all, just in Ukraine, in all times, we like recognize as creativity industry as something like not Ukrainian, it's about something more like hobbies or more like I don't know, charity, and just we just should support some like individuals. But we recognize, and I personally believe that it could be a great business. It could be a great opportunity. Nowadays, creative industry is growing 10%. No one other industry is growing such quickly and faster. And I believe in this generation, new young people who are amazing, who are like so efficient, so that they don't see borders. They immediately integrate and contribute integrated to the world economy. To the we do greatest project. If you see just like as Ukraine.
Well, actually, you do invest in creative projects. That's what you meant. You're telling me.
Sure,
Just give me like a couple examples of companies you put your money on for Ukraine.
So, if you probably knows, we are in Ukraine was born the company Solar Gaps. Just so we are happy to the only who invest in that, and it's like smart solar gaps who produce electricity from your like windows. So we nowadays we're building animation studio.
Animation studios like DreamWorks.
It's I believe the future.
Better.
That's and we from very beginning start to in international projects. We want to contribute Ukrainian context in international content. So we immediately focusing on like American market, European markets, not just for Ukrainians. And we have investment into one in Hollywood movie. So and I believe with just Ukrainian director is involved, and this I believe that very soon we will like announce that. And we have a lot of a lot of investment in IT. And
IT is not exactly where creativity happens. I don't know if there are any CIOs. No, just kidding. I do a lot of work. But how about you? You mentioned Hollywood. We have, I think, somebody who's now based in LA, where winters are much nicer than in Kiev.
Exactly.
I love Kiev. Don't get me wrong, but
even a bit better than in Davos.
So I can see the tie with creativity. Tell us about, where creativity.
Yes, of course. As I've already mentioned, I managed to build a couple of projects that were definitely very creative. And first, it's the Fashion Week that managed to put the country on the world's fashion map. Then all of the designers that were nurtured on the Fashion Week. And that was important to push their names forward. And also now I have the Kyiv Fashion Institute. It's the educational project that also breeds creativity in many other people. And Fashion Tech Summit, that's the conference that we do every year. So basically, Gautier, you see that I'm living very creative life. The most creative, probably. Yes, you can tell that.
I can tell by the excitement. And by the way, I don't know if we have good English speakers, but let's make sure we don't speak too fast.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're going to lose.
Thank you for reminding me.
And Yuri, I love your angle about your take at creativity on the Ukrainian market. Tell us more about this.
Actually, we use creativity for city transformation, and we believe that every developed society has the balance in the triangle, city administration, or I don't know, national administration, civil society and business. And actually we try to build new connections, but with new approaches. One example, we've created Urban Space 100. It's social restaurant. So we united 100 people. Each of them donated $1,000, and we opened this space. It's profitable, and 80% of incomes we reinvest to other city development projects. And every 3 months, these 100 co-owners decide which projects these are those to support directly. So it's like a kind of direct democracy, and it works, and it has a big interest from other cities. We've got more than 250 applies from 15 countries for this project, and first franchising was opened just 1 month ago in Kiev, Urban Space 500. So we united 500 already. Our partners, not we directly. Yeah. But we have also applies from San Francisco, Berlin, Toronto. So it's already Ukrainian product which has demand from other countries too.
I see that's what I like also about this panel. We talked about the diversity of profiles, but this first discussion already highlights how innovation and creativity doesn't have to be only high tech. It's creativity and innovation can happen absolutely anywhere, and that's for us a great example, regardless of our line of business, a great example that we can all innovate and find new ways. So Yuri, to keep on what you were saying, let me tease you a little bit. What you're putting together, I mean, come on, we have that in California, this social space and creative space. This was not real innovation. Tell us more about this.
Okay, so our approach. Okay, let me then describe another big project that we start right now. It's old factory, which is in the center of the city, and we create ecosystem in cross of new education, contemporary art, new economy, and urban development. And so we invite a lot of different businesses, cultural, educational stakeholders also, and create network between of them. And again, it should be profitable, but in this case, we already invite investors to invest in this project and to get both social ROI and return on investment commercial. And actually, it helps to unite a lot of different people. And this approach, co-creation approach, is very important because it makes this process inclusive, and it's important to us not to build a closed system, but it should be like a dot on the society body, which activates the whole body. And we pay attention to keep access to everybody for self-development, fast development. Due to this approach.
So would that be fair? I was teasing you a little bit. Would that be fair that instead of taking a cookie cutter approach from America, you actually work with what you have, and you probably end up with the same results, except that what you build really fits the Ukrainian profile. That's the seed, right?
Yeah, it's really important, and totally agree. We try, of course, to study different experience, outside experience, but it's extremely important to realize what do we have right now, and first of all to try to activate those resources which we have, those potentials which we have. And actually I believe that building of trust leads to a higher level of cooperation or co-creation, as you wish, and there is a huge amount of potential that most of us can't see right now. But cooperation gives synergy effect. So that's why we invest so many time to this co-creation approach.
How about you, Igor?
I just want to add some more thing about what Yuri sees, because why I'm invest in that project, because the main thing is not about like social impact and everything. The first thing is because nobody know the right recipe for how to like create opportunity for creative industry, because many countries, even USA, just France, Germany, is on the government level thinking how to invest properly. For that, they have grants, they have support. For example, in France, they support up to 80% to movie and animation production. But here is Yuri and just the team reinvent this mechanism, how to create this infrastructure for creative industry. That's the most important. Because if you talk what is infrastructure for, I don't know, for heavy industry, for agriculture, everybody understands that ports, railways, roads, and just that's easy. No, not easy, but just it understand. You just need finance. But here it's much more complicated. How to create infrastructure for people feel inspiring and wants to create something. That it's much more important. That's what's unique here, and with no government support.
Yes, and I think that already nails a pretty important point. Is there's a tendency to see high technology tied up with creativity, and as a matter of fact, we just saw through these the three examples that the inception of creativity has nothing to do with technology. It starts with people. But now I'm frustrated. I live in Silicon Valley, and yet I haven't heard any of these acronyms. So I'm going to turn to the geekette of the group. And come on, Daria, how come we haven't spoken about AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced analytics, predictive analytics? Do you do anything with this?
That's definitely a question for me to answer. Good, yeah. I'm not an expert in artificial intelligence or robotics, but I definitely understand that that will be the future, of course, and it will be implemented in so many industries. But we have a very big advantage in the creative industries, because the talent and the inspiration will be never substituted by the machines. That's what I've learned being at your course at Stanford and at so many different technology events in the Silicon Valley, where I used to live, and now I live in Los Angeles. So basically, I think creative industries will have much more dominance in like 20 and 30 years from now, because that's what should be automated, will be automated. That's no questions on that. But what cannot be automated, that's the creative vision, and that's the human. So human will become even more human, and that's our challenge for Ukraine, as everyone really loves people potential in Ukraine. If you ask any foreigner, what do you like about Ukraine? They will definitely say you're the people. That's what we love in Ukraine. It's the people. So I would like Ukraine not to become the country of outsourcing. I would like it to become the creative hub. And as we speak today, creative industries can be one of the dominant industries in, let's say, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I think you can already tweet that. Ukraine should not become the outsourcing country. It has the potential for creativity. And I love that one. I'll take it for my class, is machines are just making human becoming more human. And I think that's a very good way to coin it. Now, and I'm going to challenge that, though. Come on. A machine can design a wonderful dress. A machine can optimize the perfect color for my body and my skin. I bet you machines are going to outrun your look. I mean, what do you do with this?
I wouldn't disagree that machines will definitely play more role in fashion, and in fashion as well. And we have a friend in common, who is building the company that is automating the part of fashion, and the designer becomes the AI. But for sure, I think there will be a market for the human design clothes, because what is important for us is to feel this human likeliness, and to understand the inspiration, and to understand the soul and the mind behind a certain thing. Though, of course, like 20-30% of the clothes worldwide probably will be created by the machines, but they will never substitute. So I think it will be two different domains. And that's, Igor, remember your joke that probably the machines will be served by the machines, right? And if it will be more machines than humans, so probably fashion will be from machines. But let's not stick to that version of the future. So yes, yeah, that's answering your question.
And thank you for bringing the conversation to Igor. Igor, come on, you're the investor. You're cold-blooded. You look at companies and how they should, what's the yield and everything. How has the way to select your investment evolved through time? How do you select a company today?
Yeah, that's actually the totally different approach, and it's not only about creative industry, but even like classic old school industry. You first of all, just how it was in past. You just, first of all, you need all the due diligence and have all the papers and all the numbers. You see the revenue, see just all this stuff, and and after that you make the main decision. Just whether you invest, whether you just, what kind of potential, just numbers. So
basically accounting work.
Yeah, but just right now it's totally different. The first thing what you look at, it's a team. It's a team. Yeah, it's ecosystem in the company, it's ideas, what kind of they can generate, and how agile the team is, how they are prepared for the changes. what the atmosphere in the company, who is a leader, how sustainable is the company. So it's
So wait. If I come to you and say, "Hey, I'm a cool dude. I got a cool team and I got a cool project, and I'm quite friendly, and I can take you anytime at pinball," you're gonna give me money?
Not like that, but you have a much bigger chance than if you have like good numbers, but you have like a boring team who are died, people are not motivated, not inspired, and I guarantee that nearest time this company will die, or if they will like rebuild the system, the motivation. Because look, especially in creative industry, the first thing is not about salary. The first thing is about inspiration. How they inspired,
Indeed.
how they just motivated just to create something new, or they feel that they produce something really good for the planet, or for the country, or for the city. It's especially for younger generation.
And I love the way you point to this sort of a new type of leadership in companies. And going back to Yuri, in these communities you build, are you working on leadership or influencing the new types of leadership in the social environment?
Actually, yes. If to speak about some professions of future, I strongly believe that one of the most important is the profession of community builders. Those people should be able to talk to different kind of stakeholders and has ability to translate from one language to another language. For example, as I can see in Ukraine, big business still don't see enough potential in cooperation with civil society, and quite the opposite. Civil society see very limited way the possibility of cooperation with business. But in cross of these two sectors, there are huge possibilities because of, for example, same urban space 100. It's a huge social capital inside of it. Yeah, so it helps to get those level of safety for the project, which is usually in demand in Ukraine. Yeah, so even in our unstable situation, such approach can give some extra additional benefits, both financial and social and other dividends. And it's interesting because it's not obvious, but when we start to do it, it really works.
You know, Yuri, I would say actually it's not obvious, but look at what's happening in France right now. The disconnect between our political leadership and the French society leads to something you probably all heard about, the yellow vests. And I think building future leaders that connect civil society, the corporate world, and, well, the minimum requirements of politics.
Of course, yeah, and so we always noted that the important to have a balance in the triangle. So public authorities, civil society, and business. When everybody are in line with the common agenda, it's much more easier to move to every element of this triangle. Yes.
Yeah.
So everybody should be interested in this common agenda creating. And of course, it's important to do in a transparent way with new values, which help us to do it fast and in a modern way.
So to all of you now, and you, if you don't want to answer, you don't. If you have an idea, still, I want you to think about the future of work, the future itself. There's technology attached to it. So either when you invest or when you develop communities or when you do fashion, is there a particular technology that recently struck you as like, wow, this has potential? Whatever it is. Anything?
Yeah, actually, I'm an optimist about future and technology, because many people are really feel unsafe with this like new technology. So there's which completely destroy their way of life. They just completely change their like capacity or change their skills that they have and there's just people feel uncomfortable, unsafety, just they're afraid of lose their jobs because of robots or just driverless
but
cars.
Is there a particular technology you saw that?
I think the main problem is not it's not the technology itself. The main problem, the time is squeezing so quickly and just changes us so quickly that the humans being are not not feel comfortable. They're not prepared. They think that usually just in the past you have like one life, one profession, one skill, and just if you train like all your life and just to be the master here, and just so that's how you earn your money. Here sometimes you should take that probably you can change your what you are doing, your job 2 or 3 times, and that's really cool. And but the main thing there, our goal, the mission is as entrepreneurs, government, as thinkers, to prepare society for that.
So you mean that the technology of the future is indeed human, and human have to be upgraded, they have to progress?
Yeah, look, just of course we should be like happy, and let's say why we need cars, why we need let's go with horses, and just why we need planes. So just let's just have nowadays it's just 10 hours, and you anywhere that you can be in New York, in Australia.
Yeah, I was in San Francisco yesterday. I can tell you about that.
But it usually takes 3 months.
Yeah,
just to get there. So let's. Oh, it was so cool. I like that. Let's keep it so romantic. But come on.
Yeah, life is changing. So how do you work? I know, Daria, you have to recruit. You live in a world where it's creative. Fashion people may not be the biggest geek. Well, you're probably an exception. How are you going to handle this, where you need to hire people that have that sense of creativity, but still they need to become compatible with technology? Where do you get them? What needs to happen?
So basically in my generation, I already see lots of people like that, and especially in Gen Z. So those people, they were born with iPhones and with iPads.
I'm a Gen Z, I can talk about it.
Of course you are. And for example, I see my son who is 6 years old, and he's so familiar. So he was born after the Instagram was established. So, I mean, they're completely wired from a different things and with different books and etc. So now I don't feel that I have any problem on hiring people, for example, for my startup company that I'm working on right now, and it's a fashion tech company. So basically it's based in LA, and that's why I'm there. So I think that technology became such an important part of everyone's life and mind that it won't be a problem. It will be like how we will implement AI in the best possible way, how it can be regulated and etc. So it's not how to use it, but most we need to think how to regulate and to put it in the global picture, I would say.
So in that context of future of work, okay, I can understand the Gen Z will get the digital part, but coming back to what Igor said, how are they going to get the business part? Because at some point you said it, technology is only as good as the business it supports. Do you have the feeling they can be as solid from a business standpoint?
You mean the connection between like creative industries and the tech industry?
Because everybody can say, I'm digital, it's easy, you're digital, you work on an iPad, fair enough. But that doesn't make you a good entrepreneur or somebody that is down to earth to manage a business or to run a business. Do you find it hard to recruit, to get these profiles? Or education system does the good job?
I'm exposed to the global talent, so I'm not only hiring people in Ukraine. And definitely what I see in those people, I see that we're all learners and relearners. So that's what unites my generation. So we understand that we can learn anything from the scratch. I doubt about the talent. I'm still not sure if the talent exists in general. So I think if you want to learn something, you just sit, you read 100 books, you cry all night, and you understand how to make it, right? So that's the point. That's why I think everyone can be prepared for that. As soon as you lose your job because you don't know something, you will go and learn to do it.
But I just point out that Daria said she's a Gen Z, and she says you just have to read books. Sorry, I do YouTube videos to learn, but we're a different generation, I guess.
That's actually the point. That's why people are scaring, because it's just so simple. Just read 100,000 books and be clever as I am. So that's usually just scaring people. I think our role, just all our message, my message is just, okay, look, guys, everybody it will be easier to be involved. So because technology will help you just to study, to understand, to speak English, different foreign language, or just to be involved in the project. That's the main thing. Not to make like a super level of this IT person that they will live on another planet and we will be all of us. Even myself, I can't just deal with the computer as this young generation. But I want to. The role should be for everyone of us, for those who like in the village just produce the milk. How most efficient he will send this most fresh milk to the, just to my apartment. That's about technology, not about what he's doing.
And actually, I'm curious to see what Yuri has to say about technology. Where's the geek in you? Where do you see this helping or not?
Yeah, of course it's helping. It's like due to the modern standards, you can't not using them. So, but what we try to do, we don't orient on creating of new creative industries, but we try to make industries creative. So we try to provide opportunities and access to self-development for anybody. Of course, not everybody accepts these possibilities, but at least we should give this possibility opportunity, and we try to build it on both physical level. So we build space with different maker space, incubating programs, R&D, offices for innovative companies, and so on, event stages. But at the same time, it's important to do it on the business model with new approaches, with new values, and both these approaches create like a complexity of solutions. And all together. And after that, again, it's important to communicate these ideas to different kind of stakeholders and to switch them into this game to play together. And just with this complex approach, we believe this ecosystem approach, we can transform the whole, for example, city or country, whatever.
And see, this is where, like Instagram moment or Twitter moment, we don't make creative industry, we make industry creative. Hashtag Yuri, hashtag Ukraine. And hashtag Davos. And here's another one actually that transpired from what you say. I think your high tech is the low tech. You don't seem to be. I mean, you probably leverage them at some point, but this is not where the heart of what you do lies. There's so much that low tech can do already. And Daria, you wanted to add something.
I wanted to add something to what Yuri was saying and to what I was saying previously, and he asked me that question about tech and creative industries. So within this 12 years that I work in the creative industries and in fashion, I saw that so many things were automated, but it doesn't mean that we have less amazing people working on those things. So I think technology simplified my life in so many ways. For example, like calculating P&Ls or etc. So I think it will be more and more interesting for us to work in future using all that technology and using AI where possible, but still remain human, as I said before. And so that's why we need to nurture now our creative kind of mind and creative part of our mind where every person has, no matter who he works as, like as a businessman or an investor and etc. So I think we just need to approach creativity in a different way, and maybe Ukraine House, Davos, and like every big conference shouldn't have just one panel on creativity, but like a day of creativity. Why not, Igor? Let's think about that. So that's what I wanted to mention.
Excellent. So we have a lot of more questions to follow. I'd love to turn out to the room. Do you guys have questions about this first part? Yes. Just.
Hi, my name is Uliana Chromyak. I represent Ukraine Invest. And I'm so happy that we are having this panel discussion, because we as Ukraine Invest, we promote creative industries to the investors, and we see the interest from year to year, and it's expanding. And then, of course, it started from the Revolution of Dignity, and we see a lot of interest in the various, subsectors of creativity, let's put it this way. And so my actual comment to Igor is that the government started subsidizing the movie industry, as you know. And every month we have a new movie, you know, in the theaters, in the cinemas of Ukraine. So it's a good step towards the creative industries in the movie industry. But I also think that it's a good point to establish here not just the animation project, but you know, the Ukrainian Hollywood in Ukraine, because we have so many actors, talents in Ukraine that move to Hollywood, you know, in case of keeping them here and also do the great production here. I know that there was an idea from one of investors a couple of years ago, but why not? So we have to think about this, and I'm sure, you know, you will get there soon. But my question is to Daria. I know that you spent a year in Stanford, and what would be your suggestion to the you know, investment promotion office, how we can add the value to the creative industries and specifically to the fashion industry? Because what I can see from my, you know, that I support a lot of Ukrainian designers in Ukraine, but what I can see, they lack resources, they lack education, and they are mostly in the small and medium industry. Yeah. So what would be your suggestion, how we can add the value and, you know, lift a little bit this value chain? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juliana. It's a very good question. So, for example, there are a number of institutions that, for example, I also have a business that, you know, it's a wholesale business when we help Ukrainian designers, and not only Ukrainian designers, to start the distribution worldwide. And we have, for example, a Georgian government that is sponsoring Georgian designers, but we never had Ukrainian government sponsoring Ukrainian designers. So I think that's it's important to start working with different institutions, like, for example, the one I created and many other people created as well in this domain, and start, for example, supporting those. And I think the designers, like, we need to give them more money because they already understand the channel of how they can increase the distribution. And if talking about the numbers, for example, one of the designers that we started to work with is Mariana Senchina. She's from Lviv originally, and she had 0 sales 3 years ago. Now her sales is about $500,000 a year, $500,000 in dollars, not in hryvnias. So she's sold in more than 30 countries worldwide, and she did it without any support. Imagine if she could scale from the very beginning, if one of the governmental projects would support her. So I think that there is no link yet between the government and those small designers who can actually generate the export in Ukraine. And I think it's a question of time, definitely. And speaking about education, so I think it's important to sponsor more people to come to the universities as Stanford or any other schools like that. Berkeley. And Berkeley and all of them, maybe like Central St. Martin schools of design, where Ukrainian designers can potentially study and come back if they want, for example, and establish their brands, etc. So what I hear from the designers now, that they lack just some financial resources because they already know the way how they can invest that. Probably their business is too small for you yet, or for major investors, but yeah, probably it will be a good start.
You know, and I would love to add a comment to this. The investment is definitely worth it. You saw from this first part of the panel that educated people, creative people are going to yield so much in terms of chances of success and profitability. And how about being creative about making people creative? And I know for a fact, with the work I do at Berkeley, for instance, that there are many faculty and students that are eager to collaborate on an international basis. And of course, there's maybe some funding involved because you need to travel, you need to fund the projects, but it's definitely not a matter of money. There are people that are just eager to collaborate, and if you knock at the right doors, you'll be surprised. So I'll be happy to take this conversation after. A lot of faculty and students are craving to support these type of initiatives because that's part of what we like doing.
Yeah, and I want to add just a little bit, just because it's like a usual dream of every country have their own Hollywood, or just to be. That's all cool, but it's much easier to say than to build that. And first of all, just for example, we are proud of that we have. This year, the last year, we have 40 Ukrainian movies. It's like amazing, just 3-5 times more than it was 5 years ago. But do you know just one who just was successful, not in Ukraine, but let's say in the United States or in Europe. That's a main challenge. That's, for example, I just I like this example. For example, it's not mostly from Ukraine, from creative industry, but honey production. So we are number one in Europe of honey exporter. Have you ever seen anywhere in the world Ukrainian honey on the shelf?
No.
That's a main challenge. That's why we are here. Why we're building branding. Why we're trying to find new, different, creative ways how to promote Ukrainian honey, how to promote Ukrainian movies, because Ukrainian markets, let's be honest, it's too small. We have no money here. Just the only way to be successful, we should export. We should build it. If the government wants to help, we should build an infrastructure to support Ukrainian product be successful there. We need like export agency. We need to reinvent our embassies abroad. Mm-hmm. We need a lot of stuff, but don't help business itself. Don't help creative people. Just build an infrastructure. That's the main reason. That's the main challenge.
And to get started in a scruffy way, we have some answers with Yuri already. The infrastructure is there, very close to the society. There's another question over there.
I just have a short comment about, you mentioned expert agency, and I was the one who created expert promotion agency in Ukraine, and now it's up and running with state budget in it. But what I've seen during the past 3 years, that sometimes there is a huge miscommunication and misconnection between some people proactive in government that want to change things and businesses that either don't believe or don't appreciate what is being done. So I would encourage you highly, to use available opportunities from the state budget. Like for a film industry, I'm sure you can benefit from 700 million of Ukrainian hryvnias in the cultural fund budget. You can also cooperate closely with Ukrainian institute that was created as a state institution under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You can also work with state institution expert promotion office to promote a lot of fashion, a lot of cinema products as well.
That's great.
We had in October huge project in China where we promoted Ukraine, and we just made a public call. We invited all the fashion experts, designers. We invited all the possible also cinema production, because I know that for Chinese, there is a lot of promotion of Ukraine as a destination for making movies. So there are a lot of things happening. I think that we all, I'd say, Team Ukraine or believers in Ukraine, and those people who are promoting Ukraine in whatever capacity and whatever role they're having, just we have to unite on some kind of communication platform, so at least we all will know what's happening, and just kind of, combine all these efforts that we all are making on different endeavors, and just push harder. Thank you.
Yes,
that's why we're all here.
That's actually a very good comment. That's another Instagram moment. Team Ukraine, and two things I took out of this. I'd love to get maybe your input, but from the research and my experience, collaboration is definitely something that is part of creativity. You don't just innovate in your shell. You connect, you reconnect, deconnect, etc., etc. It's the network that creates that richness of thinking. And so, how do you work on this? Did you help your entrepreneurs, your companies to network and learn what's available?
Yeah, it's the communication is always a key stone. But just what I want to mention also, and what should be done, because I think it's actually challenging not only Ukrainian educational system, but it's all over the world. We should change our education in order to prepare like young generation, just people for the different world, for the future. Just like even simple examples. I remember our post-Soviet school, when it's like the main motivation was to compete with each other. Because we never did the group work, we never did like collaboration. But why? Because it's like was Soviet system, or it was easier to do. But nowadays that the main skill is like to collaborate, to work in team, to sometimes to be critical. What is
absolutely.
What is now? Just to challenge that. Just to come up with something different and not be afraid to fail.
We're going to get back to that actually. But the question that burning me, and I don't want to be, I don't want to be putting oil on the fire. But how come you, Yuri, or Daria, did not ask for funding from what we just discussed, the Team Ukraine? Because you seem to be pretty aligned with these goals.
Yeah. Actually, if to speak about education again, we try to invest first of all to informal education because of its fast and it can help to find fast solutions. Yes, and secondly, we try to build ecosystem even on physical level in a smart way, which is in intuitive way helps people to find these possibilities, to get fast the knowledges that they need, to test them right there, for example, by Fab Lab, Makerspace, or some incubating programs and so on, and to try right at the same place. And that's this approach is quite helpful with, for example, changing profession or looking for something completely new direction in I don't know, in creating of new businesses or something like this.
Do you want to add anything? Because you're the one who goes to LA.
No, you asked me about the collaboration between the government, right? So, and for example, Western NAS, the fund, they were supporting Fashion Tech Summit in a certain way and giving the prize to one of the startups that won at our competition. So I think that's a great journey that we started together. But so far, like in reaching the agreement, we did reach it with Georgian government, for example, for Georgian designers. Hopefully, Ukrainian government can be the next.
Yeah, well, see, date is taken.
I mean, yeah, I'll take it.
No, that's great.
It will be considered, but generally, I think it's not just the government. It's just you have a lot of possibilities to take the financing from the EBRD, from other institutions that are happy to support. So
we tried, but
we have different sources.
It never happened.
I mean, the government, of course, is your partner, and we are always happy to help.
So, action item for Team Ukraine. How do we fluidify this? But guys, it's all okay. The future of work is about failing fast and iterations, and yeah, it just doesn't happen like this all the time. So, any questions from my left side? Because the right side have been pretty good. Come on, do something. Right now it's 2-0. Not asking you to tie, but at least to make one. Come on, throw a bone.
All shy.
Okay, so let's move on. I have a question about this future of work. What is, when it comes to technology or seeing people not evolving fast enough, do you have a nightmare or something that keeps you up at night? I mean, what would you not like to see happening?
Yeah, as I said, it's just what is really problem, and we see that in United States, in France, when because of this like switch in like the future is coming, it's too fast for many people. They start to be unsafe and just, they don't trust the government, they don't trust the institution, and they start to go in the streets or to support populists who provide the easy solutions for the difficult questions. That's the main problem for me, because it's like it could undermine like all these institutions, or it could undermine the democracy itself. That's the main problem that like technology can just come up. But because I really recommend not to be afraid about artificial intelligence or just robots, because it's just data and just like a smart work, how to work with that, how to use it just to solve difficult questions, to difficult problems. Because don't be afraid. Don't just of course it should be regulated. Of course, it should be under control, but it's not be like, oh, it's something like these robots will come and invade our Earth and we will be slaves.
But you know, there's something actually, yeah, we should not be afraid. But there's one thing I know is if you don't know about, and a lot of people don't know and haven't been educated to this, even in the US, I think education is still lagging a little bit. If you don't know, you fear, and that's kind of normal. And if people say, oh, come on, it's going to be all right, you still fear because you don't know. Now, some point you mentioned, I think we should all take into account, because we see that in France as well. We saw that in the US, how elections can be manipulated, is I think it sounds like your nightmare is not about machines taking over. It's about human politics taking over in a bad way. Some more humans doing arms to humans.
Just what we see is it's even like new technologies with like social media. We're so happy just to be to be connected to all over the world with your friends, with your family, with all just people you just met. But you don't mention that should be like opposite side of that.
And
that
who
should
said
be threat? Nobody regulate that. They just and that could be really they can manipulate just your opinion. It's just to your democracy, your vote on the elections, and just it should be like when just we should think about that.
So I get this. So quiz for the audience. Who wrote? I think that was a long time ago. The man is a wolf for the man. Homo minel. Yes. And see, that was way before AI, way before machine learning, and yet I think he coined it very well. In the end, it's the man who's his worst enemy, not the machine, except when it's the Terminator. But we have Schwarzenegger in California, so we're safe. So how about you, Yuri? When you wake up in the morning, what is your worst nightmare?
Yeah, so my answer would be very close to Igor's. I would call it like populism driven by technologies. So actually, and again, because of this, it's important to pay attention to this connecting different parts of society and to realize what is going on in every part of society when we provide new solutions and when we do it in a really fast way, because the world is extremely fast now. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you feel it, is the number of amazing expressions that are coined. Did you hear that? Data-driven, no, technology-driven populism. That is a good one. That is a very good one, and we see the damage that in the yellow jacket that social media do, the fake news, and how people are influenced by who knows who. That's a very good. Okay, hashtag Instagram picture, Yuri, you got it. Yeah. How about you, Daria? What makes you sweat at night?
Sweat at night is seeing the dress not just designed by AI, but designed in a way that it looks beautiful than the dress designed by Karl Lagerfeld. So what I mean here is if AI will have an inspiration, will be able to create the story behind the dress. Because yes, something can be automated, but machine cannot envision the story. And that's the domain of the human, to envision the story and to bring the idea forward and to make it very big and to interconnect different industries. That's what I'm afraid of. That the dresses will be even more beautiful, and I will need to buy more.
But indeed, I hear you there. But when it comes to the future of work, how can you scale storytelling? Because if everyone wants to have a personal experience, you can't mass produce that. Does it mean there's going to be a market for the poor, who's going to be produced by machines, and a market for the rich? Isn't that unfair? I mean, how are you going to deal with this?
Very unfair, for sure. And there is always kind of unfairity in the world, if the world is like that.
She's pessimistic.
But no, I think that technology will give us an opportunity to bridge this gap, and definitely it won't be divided by poor and rich. And that's what we can also benefit, how we can benefit from the technology, because technology gives us an availability to receive something way cheaper than it is. And that's the biggest, I think, achievement of the technology progress. That's happening in fashion, for example. Mm-hmm. The mass market is changing because of the technologies as well. What is mass market right now? Is it like ownership of the garment? Is it the picture that you are taking in a certain dress? Is it buying the dress? And that's what the technology can give to us.
Okay, so but maybe there's a hope because in what you build, Yuri, aren't you building proximity and access to closer markets, closer entrepreneurs, closer producers?
Actually, we built access to the whole market, to the whole city, the whole house, and again, it's important for us try to make this inclusive ecosystem and
Yes.
And provide everybody by same access, but we are not trying to build socialism. It's not this way, because not everybody ready to accept these possibilities, of course. But still, we feel in Ukraine, entrepreneurs feel lack of different resources and lack of access to capitals, different capitals, yes, and that's important. To provide possibilities, and I strongly believe that it's enough. It's enough because Ukrainian entrepreneurs are hungry. It's much more easier for us to be entrepreneurial and innovative because of we have these legs, and it's helpful. And now it's a kind of advantage, I would say.
So do you mean that by building these communities, you're going to be able to make these stories available to everyone? Because I can get close to the person I'm buying this dress from. So maybe you should talk. I don't know. So anything you want to add, Igor?
Yeah, I want everybody afraid of what new technologies will come and will change everything, all the industry. But I believe that it will help to make it more like personal feeling, to personalize the service, to personalize this, like your products, what you are buying. So nowadays we are a Western company who you can create your own furniture. For example, you just like your own size, your own color, your own height, everything, just like personal. And just in 3-4 weeks you will be deliver that. And so that's the future. So we are afraid of that. Why? Because it's just disrupt your understanding of like furniture market. The same stuff I believe will be with design. So the AI could help to understand what you really want, but never will help you just to build what you really what you want. Never build your own story, because I think the future it will be about storytelling everywhere, all kind of industries. If you have like a good story, you have your own customers, and just maybe it will be fewer, but maybe not a big amount of that. But I believe that even big corporate business should change it in such way to provide personal service for everyone.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned, I'll take the mic for a few minutes. Is the storytelling is becoming more and more prevalent. We see that in data a lot. People are just getting bored of being bombarded with data, with analysis, with AI answers. If they don't understand, if they don't know how to apply it, it's going to be useless. And one of the focus of the industry in analytics, data management, is to build these stories. Because a great insight, if it's not understood or used, is moot. So that's to allude on the storytelling. There is also something we see a lot, is what we call the customer journey. That's what you alluded to in American terms, because we invented everything, you know. It's the customer journey, and more, I love this symbiosis between technology and personal taste. Indeed, the technology is going to help us make choices faster, access to resources faster, but in the end, all this becomes faster so that it gives us more time to ask the questions that are dear to us. So we want to spend more time talking to a real person that's going to let us make the final choice or confirm that our choice is right. And yes, indeed, it defeats, a lot of the selling cycle is reduced considerably, and sometimes frustrating because it's all machine-driven, but the best part still is there, and that's the new customer journey. So another quick pause and turning to the left part of the audience, making eye contact. How do you feel? You guys are entrepreneurs, executives, who knows what. Do you have any fear with the future of work or in the context of Ukraine? Do you have any fear saying like, oh my gosh, we're going to be bypassed and we're just going to be left behind by all the nations? How do you feel about that? Because we said everything's fine, everything's good, people are going to solve it.
Hi, my name is Natalia, and yeah, I actually have not a fear, but something that I think we should all work on together, because during the history of independent Ukraine, we see that it was a source of sources, but not a finished product. And right now, everyone says like, "Oh my God, it's such amazing IT professionals in Ukraine." But again, what's happening? It's all outsourced, and what Ukraine gives to the world, what Ukraine produces, I think we should think together and do something to make a lot of finished products with added value. And because now it's industry switching from all the like old style, old school things to the creative industries, which are easily to produce, easily to send.
Right, yes.
Look how many red dots Ukraine got this year or
red
before.
dots are probably the utmost design award you can get in the world.
Yes, look, Ukrainian designers, because I also work in fashion industry. 3 Ukrainian designers have been an LVMH prize. It's a very huge results, but of course they are not winners, because who will give 300,000 euro to the Ukrainian designer? Where they just don't really know what's going on, how they will spend, what is the infrastructure behind.
Siri is listening to you.
Technology intervention.
Yeah, it's technology. So that's a question: how we will build this infrastructure to give. To give a final product with added value, produced, designed in Ukraine.
I see.
And what's your vision, guys? That's a question, actually.
So actually, that could be a great way to finish. I was given the 5-minute warning by our hostess. One thing I will say, because this is just something that is dear to me, but I don't want to end up on that note, is talking about change and the future of work, being creative. I had a turn in my career. I used to be deep in finance, and I realized that technology and data could change my world, make me work faster, and actually spend more time on what mattered, working with the people in the factories, solving real problems, not just adding up numbers. And in my team, there was a lady, her name was Mary. She had been in the company for 20 years, barely graduated from high school, and she had been a secretary ever since. She was assigned to my team, and she thought she was going to keep on typing letters. And I told her, you know what, Mary, you can do something else. We're going to learn something else. We're going to learn data. We're going to learn how to go faster, do all these things. And she freaked out because she said, oh my gosh, what are we going to do if we do that fast? I said, well, there's so much that we don't do right now. That's going to be much funner than just adding up numbers. And this lady, she was back then 48, 50. She said, okay. She bit the bullet, she learned, and she became one of my probably best analysts ever, doing some very advanced things with data. And I wanted to mention her story, well, first of all, to illustrate that there is hope. We can all switch and learn. The barrier to entries are not that high. And also because she passed away right before Christmas, and she's definitely a person that was a turning point in my career. So I just wanted to say hi to her. And not finish on that note, but what would be your advice to the community to say, guys, there's hope, we can make that happen in 1 minute?
Yeah, I think it will be even faster. Just from investor perspective, I'm really recommend just to be in Ukraine right now.
Be Ukrainian?
Not be Ukrainian. Be in Ukraine to invest in Ukraine. That's the best time. You will be amazed. You'll be amazed by this young generation, because they are not afraid. Because even myself, I'm trying to squish from by drop this fear, this just lack of ambitions. For example, I start every every talk with our potential like companies we invest in. So look, what's your like ultimate goal? Where you want to be, let's say in 10, 15 years. And if their ambition is not too high, just like to be company number one in the world, just to take the American market, or it's not interesting. Why? Well, it's because I think that's Ukrainian problems, just our ambition. Sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. So that's why my first advice to everyone, just believe in yourself, just dream bigger, and just like start bigger ambition projects. That's it. So you will be easier to raise money. It will be easier to find the people if you if you can tell story, and if the story is big enough to take your attention, take attention from like any country of the world. That's what we are looking for. That's why we are looking for the young teams, trying to invest in them, and I believe that's the future of Ukraine.
Okay, so just don't take all out the venture capital from California. We need some left, okay? How about you? How about you, Yuri? Tell us.
So again, we built infrastructure, huge infrastructure, 37,000 square meters in the center of the city, together with our partners.
So let's fill it up.
Yeah, and with a lot of different functions and opportunities, with access to educational programs, with access to makerspace for prototype, with opportunity to rent office right there, and this ecosystem approach should be helpful and make this way to get to the success and to outside markets much more easier and faster.
And well, last but not least, Daria, what would be your advice?
Yes, my advice would be, I remember how I started when I was 17 and I was approaching people.
That was 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, 3 years ago, you're right. And I was approaching professionals from the fashion industry, and I was saying to them that, hello, my name is Daria, I'm from Ukraine, because it was important for me to say that I'm from this country. And they were asking me, so where is it located? How many hours it is from Italy or France? And coming to the stage where I was talking to the same people, and when they started to tell me, of course, we know Ukrainian designers are so cool, it's such a wave of people who are so creative, etc. So I believe that can happen in every sector in Ukraine, and I will definitely advocate for the leaders that can be born in every professional community, and to show the way of how we can create together. And if there is one thought that I want people to take from our panel, and I don't know, my speech from that future is in our hands, and the future of Ukraine in the hands of our different generations that build our country together. And definitely it's great that we started the dialogue even here with the audience, and we understand that we still lack the dialogue altogether, and we need to understand not only how to collaborate with the entire world, but how to collaborate together in one country, so just to make this country big and beautiful, because we have all the potential for that, and we have amazing people.
Yes, and indeed, I would add. I'm the moderator, so I can have the last word before we let our guest go. Looking from the outside, I must admit, maybe it's the half American in me that couldn't place Ukraine on a map. But yeah, 3 years ago I couldn't place Ukraine on a map, and I barely knew how Ukraine looked like. I mean, let's be candid. And the work that has been done with the Emerging Leader program in Stanford. The wealth of students I've gotten in my classes from Ukraine, eager to learn from nothing. These visits we're planning with Berkeley, and these continuous interactions I've had, this invitation to Kiev. Guys, you shine. Anytime, let people know who you are, because the potential that is being seen from the outside, my experience is like, wow, what an impressive country. So, on that note, thank you very much for sharing your experience. I think you confirmed to everyone that you guys rock, and all the best for Team Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dans le médical, dans l'agraire. Oui, oui. Depuis à peu près 25 ans, en fait, les deux entrepreneurs. On a vécu aussi à Kharkiv, mais qui est